The idiots over on Fox News decided to critique Biden's tax plan. You have the most pompous man in the country, Stuart Varney, talking to the most wrong man in the country, Larry Kudlow. Let's see what they have to say.
They say, Democrats are saying, well, we need higher taxes to finance whatever, $3 trillion infrastructure bill and so forth. Well, the infrastructure bill is going to be less about infrastructure than it is going to be about the Green New Deal to abolish fossil fuel energies, which would be a calamity. Second, it's an excuse to tax the rich. We're talking here class warfare, not growth. The left of the progressive movement doesn't care a whit about economic growth. They just have an ideology of redistribution of income, go after tax cuts. It's right after Karl Marx, Das Kapital. Yes. I was there when he finished that book in 1867. I told him not to do it, that his numbers were no good, and he ignored me completely, and it's probably become the world's greatest seller, certainly among left-wing people. But in all seriousness, who would raise taxes $3 trillion? Who would make us less competitive in the name of taxing the rich? All this is some socialist ideology that's failed wherever it's been put into place. And I think it can be stopped. I think you're going to find Democrats in the House and Senate who really don't like this.
I hope so. They don't care if the poor get poorer, so long as the rich get poorer too.
Right.
Margaret Thatcher.
Right. Well,
dead right. They
yes.
just hate the rich. That's what it's all about. Larry, I'm out of time.
You know what?
Go on.
Even socialists run out of other people's money. Remember Thatcher
That's
said
a good
that.
one.
Even
Yes.
socialists run out of other people's money.
I love it.
Yes! Yes! Let's continue to have a political conversation in bumper stickers. These guys think they're intelligent, and their understanding of politics is like bumper sticker right-wing Ayn Rand shit. I mean, eventually socialists run out of other people's money. You get it? They're going to tax the rich so much until the rich have nothing left. And then who are you going to tax after the rich have nothing left? What happens when Jeff Bezos runs out of money because we made the tax rate too high? Poor Jeff Bezos, he's such a victim. He's such a victim. Leave him alone to force workers to shit in a bag. These guys are such a joke. By the way, I love how the quote, the Margaret Thatcher quote, they don't care if the poor get poorer so long as the rich get poorer too. But 20 seconds earlier, you said all they want to do is redistribute money to the poor. That's all they want to do. So which is it? Do they want to redistribute money to the poor, therefore making the poor wealthier? Or is it they don't care if the poor get poorer so long as the rich get poorer too? Which is it? Because on the one hand, you're saying this is going to make poor people poorer. And on the other hand, you're admitting, yeah, they're going to redistribute and it's going to make the poor people wealthier. Which is it? Which is it? They don't know and they don't care because it's not about making sense or logic or reason. It's about how do we own the libs? And, and be incredibly hyperbolic as well. So let's go through some of this. Stuart Varney says, or not Stuart Varney, what's his face? Larry Kudlow, who's been wrong about everything in his life, by the way. I don't even think that's an exaggeration. This is a guy who said right before the subprime mortgage crisis and the Great Recession that there's not going to be a crash. This is a guy who said at the beginning of our COVID crisis, we have it contained. He's just wrong about everything. The guy has never been right about fucking anything. He says, well, this bill's not about infrastructure, it's about the Green New Deal. Biden is against the Green New Deal, and he's made that incredibly clear. Now, I wish he was for it, he's not for it, he's against it. And, by the way, any infrastructure bill, yes, is going to involve investment and jobs created around green and renewable technology. Because that's what you do when you upgrade infrastructure. Of course. Duh. He thinks that's some sort of gotcha. And by the way, it is about infrastructure. Of course it's about infrastructure. Then he goes on to say, well, this is really about taxing the rich. Good. Good. The problem is it's not about taxing the rich enough. Because what does Biden propose? Take the corporate tax rate, which was 35% in 2016. And then in 2017, Trump cut it to 21%. You know what Biden says? Raise it to 28. So he's not even for making it 35. Which is what it was before. he still effectively wants to do a corporate tax cut since 2016. I mean, he's basically a moderate Republican, but what does this idiot say? He's like Karl Marx. Was Karl Marx a moderate Republican? Because that's what Joe Biden is. And the other thing is, it's all about taxing the rich. How much does he want to tax the rich, numbnuts? Like, let's talk about the specific plans. How about that? What does he want to do? Raise the corporate tax rate to 28%, which is less than what it was in 2016. And he wants to raise the top marginal rate to 39%. That's exactly what it was under Obama. I think that's exactly what it was under Clinton. Under Dwight Eisenhower, a Republican, the top marginal rate was 93%. 93%. You're flipping out over 39 and acting like this is some sort of insane class warfare. What a joke! What a joke! Then he says, well, this is really to go after tax cuts and to redistribute wealth. Again, good, go after that Trump tax cut law because 83% of the benefits went to the top 1%. It was just a giveaway to the wealthy. So you're the one who really wants to redistribute, Larry Kudlow and Stuart Varney, but you want to redistribute from the poor and give it to the rich. You want to give them net subsidies, you want to give them giant tax cuts, and you want to leave working people hanging. I want to cut taxes for working people and give them more goods and services and a social safety net. You don't want that. You want to raise taxes on them, just like Ronald Reagan. When Ronald Reagan cut taxes, it was for the wealthy. He raised taxes on working people. This is a great segment Tom Hartman had on this about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So when they talk about tax cut, they're not talking about you. Yes, I want to redistribute. You want to know why I want to redistribute? Because, you have some people out there with $50 billion. How much does Jeff Bezos have? Does he have $100 billion or more than that? So at the same time you have that, you have 78% of the country is living paycheck to paycheck. Half of workers in this country make $30,000 a year or less. Jeff Bezos makes like $30,000 per second. And I'm supposed to protect his ass and screw the workers? No, I'm flat out in favor of some redistribution of wealth. It's the only way you can create a system that makes sense, is to have some redistribution of wealth. Because guess what? If you have totally unfettered, laissez-faire, free market capitalism, what happens is 0.01% of the population has fucking everything and owns everything, and everybody else is effectively an indentured servant. That's it. And you make next to nothing, and you can barely survive, and you live in tenement housing, and you got child labor. So fuck out of here with this insane religious worship of capitalism. And finally, of course, the best part is he says, this is just like Karl Marx. This is socialist ideology, and this is unacceptable. If you think Joe Biden is like Karl Marx, your brain is broken. You are one of the dumbest people on the planet. Joe Biden, his entire career, has been a moderate Republican. Joe Biden supported the Iraq War. Joe Biden supported the Patriot Act. Joe Biden, so at some point, he supported the fucking balanced budget amendment and to reduce the debt and the deficit, which is a right-wing trope and ideology, which is just a Trojan horse to cut the social safety net programs. This is a guy who wanted to make a grand bargain about cutting Social Security and cutting Medicare. That's who Joe Biden is. Joe Biden is proposing the tiniest ever tax increases on the top earners in the country. He's proposing the tiniest ever corporate tax increase, and they're literally saying he's like Karl Marx. There is no negotiating or reasoning with these morons because they're ideologues, they're full of shit, they're insane, and their ideas for the country are abysmal and apocalyptic and disastrous. And I know that because Larry Kudlow has been whispering in the ears of presidents since Ronald Reagan. His policies were a disaster under Reagan. They were a disaster under George W. Bush, subprime mortgage crisis and Great Recession. He wants to deregulate everything in sight and cut taxes for the wealthy. Did it under Trump. Complete and utter disaster. Wealth and income inequality skyrocketing. And now he has the nerve to pretend Joe Biden is like Karl Marx. You're not even close to making sense. It's embarrassing and it's shameful. The fact that this guy ever had any power when he's been wrong about everything is a true indictment on the system.